Project Tribute Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to aiding our nation's first responders. Our vision and mission is to enhance the life-saving capabilities of our first responders through raising awareness and funding for the life-saving work that they do. Our goal with the podcast is to be an educational avenue and a method for our heroes to express themselves. In the podcast, we will discuss various tough subjects. Some of the subjects may be uncomfortable or controversial. Our guests have the right to share their thoughts and ideas, and for our listeners to hear the unedited words of our guests. The Foundation's role is to showcase a diverse array of thoughts and opinions within the first responder community. If you hear something that you do not agree with, please consider reaching out to us at ProjectTributeFoundation@gmail.com and join our podcast. If you're a first responder and you would like to share your story, we truly would love to hear from you and learn from your experiences. Please enjoy this week's show, and as always, like, comment, and share to help us grow. You can find more information at www.ProjectTribute.com. Thanks and have a great one. So, John Beckloff with the Project Tribute Foundation. So, we've got our first panel of guests, so we're going to try to muddle through this and figure out how this goes. So, this week really had the opportunity to get three police officers together. And really want to talk about what it's like being a female police officer and a female first responder, and then just have this team, educate me and educate us on what it means to be a first responder. So I've got, if you guys will, Miss Jessica, if you'll start and introduce yourself and what you've done in your career, and anything you want us to know about your work history.
Okay. Jessica Pitts. I have been a police officer for about 4 years. Currently, I serve in the detective division. About it.
Okay, awesome. And then Queen Maggie Blevins.
Yes, my name is Maggie Blevins. I am a police officer here in Oklahoma. I've been doing this for almost 16 years.
Wow. Okay. And then Sierra Compton. Name and what do you do and how long you done it for?
My name is Sierra Compton, and I've been a police officer for 3 years.
Fantastic. So pretty good gambit of experience. So kind of the first question, and what we'll do is just go roundabout, and if there's something you're passionate about, just jump in and answer. But one of the first things I want to ask each first responder is, it's intimidating when you come across a first responder in uniform, be it a gas station, be it in a restaurant, whatever, to come and say thank you. So what's a manner that you all appreciate that really helps your shift or your day, or give an example of somebody that's told you thank you and that was something that really stuck with you?
We get a lot of them. I myself experience several where I'll be sitting at a stoplight and they will roll their window down and honk their horn just to get your attention, to be able to tell you thank you and they appreciate what you do for their community.
Nice. Yep. How about Sarah?
Just coming up and telling them, hey, or them telling you thank you for your service, and just thanking you personally face to face. I really enjoy that. And
then, Jessica, same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, more so with Sierra, going into gas stations or whatnot. There's been times, that I'd be filling up a drink and they'd just come up and say, hey, I want to thank you for your service. That's typically where I see it the most is, gas stations, or if you have a call for service, say at Walmart or like a store atmosphere.
Yeah. And I think that's what I've noticed is across the board so far, everyone just said, hey, just tell us thank you, versus not something elaborate, not just the verbal, I see you. And whenever that does happen, I mean, how does that impact your day, impact your shift? I mean, is that memorable to you? Does that make a difference?
Absolutely. I mean, you really pay attention to your community. So you get to know people, they say thank you, you say something nice in return, and that's how you build rapport with your community.
Absolutely. And that's, so with all of y'all, have you served in the same place that you live in, or live kind of in the same area?
Yes.
I live an hour away, so.
Okay.
I have two communities, really.
Sure. And now, do you do any law enforcement where your house is?
No, sir.
Okay. And then Miss Maggie?
I work in the community in which I live.
Okay. So kind of on the flip side is, same question, but what are the don't do's? It's easy with the military. It's, have you ever killed someone? You don't want to ask that. I don't want to share that story. And now to clarify, I don't have those stories because I'm a civilian, but it's still, what are the don't do's in you all's world? What's the, man, I hate it when people ask this question.
Honestly, I don't think I have a don't ask me a question, because I try my best to be an open book to the people I work with and also to my community. So not a question would really bother me.
Okay. And Maggie, you were shaking your head. Yes. So same thing.
Yeah, I agree with Sierra, because I like the fact that our citizens are comfortable enough to know that they can come up and ask us anything.
Okay. And then Jessica?
I'm gonna agree with him. Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, the more we can share and be open about, I think is better all around.
So you all are my first group of officers, but fire and EMS were the exact opposite. Now, you all answer similar calls. Do you think that this is because you all are in a different department, or it's because I talked with guys first and now ladies? I mean, what do you think causes the difference?
Well, what was their input on that?
So Jared's input was, you don't want to hear my worst day. And so what he does is he tells the worst story possible, but gives you kind of the gives you a chance to back out. My worst day involves me picking up car seats with them still in it. So the shock and awe to get you to back off. Justin, very same thing. Justin Miller is very polite. And so his thing was, I don't want to talk about things that, those kind of days. And it would be easy to say, well, they deal with death more, but not really. I mean, as a detective, you're going to be there if somebody passes away. As an officer, you're going to be there whenever. I mean, so you all see the same stuff. So what do you think causes you get fire and EMS so far, 3 of them actually, because there was another guy I talked with, and he's now a RN, but was paramedic and fire. Same thing. He said, I don't want to talk about it. So do you think it's because it's guys, or do you think it's because it's different service?
I think it's because it's a different service. Us as police officers, women or man, we're supposed to be an open book to the public. You know what I mean?
Okay. So Maggie, you were shaking your head. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they expect us to be open with them and honest with them. I mean, that's what we do. We protect and serve. I agree with Sierra. I don't have a problem talking about it, but there are certain situations where, if somebody asks me about a certain thing, I'm gonna be like, well, I don't feel like I'm not comfortable talking about that right now.
Sure. Which makes sense. I mean, you guys are dealing with the crime side of it, so there are details you can't share, or you have to be careful sharing. So that makes sense. One of the things that I noticed, because I've dealt with all 3 of you, that you all, you're very direct, and you're very much, this is what needs to happen. This is kind of, you definitely rule the space around you to ensure that this is what, this is how this room's going to work if I'm going to be in this room. And I think that's something I've noticed with you 3, but also officers in general. Fire guys and the paramedics, not as much, but it's definitely, they're still of that type A of, this is what needs to happen for this to go well. And Jessica, same thing, or are you kind of in agreement that it just is what it is, and we're going to talk about it?
Yeah, like Maggie said, I believe so. There's certain things that, you may not feel comfortable with talking about at that time. But there's kind of the flip side too. And we had hit on this, I think, before we started the broadcast, was just that sometimes talking about certain situations can also help that person. So, if I experience something traumatic, me being able to vocalize that with others could actually help me.
Well, and that's kind of why I was wondering if it's men versus women, because, Justin, Jared, all of them have talked about, in the male culture, it's shut the fuck up and, bottle that stuff up until you just can't. And so then you see, and really, I don't know the statistics, but you do see, where when I see the post of an officer or a first responder committing suicide, it's almost always a guy. It stands out when it's a girl. And so I wonder if that's because you all are, more prone to talking about it.
Well, and I think that that's something that as a culture or as a first responder entity, that we are trying to change, that, we need to open up about those things. If I'm having a bad day, hopefully one of my friends, coworkers can see that and reach out, because it appears, back years and years ago that you did keep that stuff bottled up. And, when that happens, people's not reaching out for help. And unfortunately, sometimes they, commit suicide. And hopefully now we're bringing to light that talking with it, or talking with others, talking about it, just knowing that there's other people out there, other options, hopefully we can solve all that.
Yeah, so Justin had brought up the idea, instead of calling it post-traumatic stress disorder, calling it stress injury. And I really thought that was interesting, because that's right. I mean, you're just trying to heal from a single point wound versus you're ruined for the rest of your life. And then John, in John 15:13, he didn't put that last word on there. He just called it post-traumatic stress. And so what are you all's thoughts on that? On to me, the verbiage does matter. It's simple, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, and I think maybe one of the other officers on here can explain it better. But, there's some statistics out there that within an 8-hour shift, your highs to lows just constantly. And so to have one, call that sticks with you, I don't know if that's accurate. I mean, you go through a whole shift, 8 hours, and the other two gals, they probably see more of it being on patrol. I mean, they're responding to active situations, whereas, I typically come in a little bit later now. But just the highs and lows of the job and the 8-hour shift that they go through, it's a lot of stress on a body. So again, I don't know that it's just one instance. It's numerous throughout a day, a week, a shift. Like I said, they might be able to hammer on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, Maggie, you're the senior officer of the group. I mean, how do you handle the shift of highs to lows? I mean, is that
one call at a time?
Yeah.
I mean, that seriously is the best way to do it. First of all, you're not going to have, not every traffic stop is going to be a routine call. Not every domestic is going to be a routine. So you just got to take each one as it comes and kind of sort out your good with your bad, or your worst, and just deal with each one as it comes.
So one of the things that I don't, your shift, I don't understand that. So the fire and EMS, I learned that they work a 24-hour on, and then they have off, or they work, how does your typical work week? I mean, I don't need to know your particular schedule, but is it you work 8 hours and then off 8 hours, or how's it set up for patrol? Because Jessica, I understand yours is more not on call, but still a little bit like that.
We work 8 hours and off for 16.
Okay. So you do have a little bit of time to decompress. And then so Maggie, are you more days or nights?
I'm days.
Okay. And then Sarah, you're nights?
I'm days.
Days.
I transferred to days.
Okay. Gotcha. And then Jessica, what's your kind of time frame of the day?
Yeah, it's the same. It's pretty much 8 to 5. We just have 2 days of on call, 2 to 3 times a month.
Okay. So one of the, the first couple of videos, we really dived into the post-traumatic stress, but we forgot to ask the question, why do you do it? So, what keeps you, why did you seek out becoming a law enforcement officer? And then what keeps you going every day? Why, do you love the job, or is it, tell us why do you do it?
I do it because I absolutely love the job. I could not picture myself doing anything else. I couldn't picture supporting my family in any other way. When I was younger, I had probably some of the most horrible parents in the world. And I told myself when I was about 13, I was talking to an Osage County deputy who had come out to our house, and I told him, when I become an adult, I am going to grow up and I am going to arrest the scumbags like my parents, and I'm going to be a police officer.
Wow.
So that was my goal. And that's what I did. I became a police officer, but even before I became a police officer, we had our parents arrested, and they're serving prison sentences right now. I felt accomplished with that. And that was my first goal. So I thought, okay, that is my goal. I made it. I accomplished it. And now I'm going to go for the badge. And that's what I've done.
Well, and you very easily could have gone into the cycle, and I mean, what kept you out of diving into the cycle of harm and crime and those things?
That wasn't the life I wanted. I saw the life my parents were living. And I told myself I would never be that type of citizen. I will never be that type of adult, and I would never be that type of parent.
Wow. And then do you have siblings or?
Yes, I have five siblings.
Okay. Wow. So big family.
Yes.
Wow. So same thing, Jessica, Sierra, why do you do it?
Okay, I'll go. So growing up for me, law enforcement was just, it looked cool type of deal. And then I went through school, went through college. I had goals kind of being a PE teacher and a softball coach. That was, my main focus as a teenager was just sports and education type of deal. But after college, I did about 4 years with the Department of Human Services as a child welfare investigator. And my friend had told me I had applied for the agency that I'm currently with 4 or 5 years ago. And she had told me, just come to child welfare. It's the same thing. You just don't get to carry a gun. So, okay. So I tried that. I loved it. I loved the people I worked with. And I definitely think that was a stepping stone, in my path. Learned valuable lessons, made great contacts, and have long lasting friendships with some of the people I worked with. But after that, applied with the agency that I made it. And I just, like Maggie said, I love it. I love the community in which I serve. I'm very proud of the community. I feel like, I'm really blessed with the area that I'm working in. You see negative in the world all around us, but it seems like in my area, it's far, far less. So like I said, all I can say is really, really enjoy it. I love it. I love our administration, the city. I love everything about the job, man. I can't, I dig it. Like, I'm the one that after work, I'm still watching cop shows and things like that. Like I can't get away from it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, Sierra, you were silent. You're up.
I agree with both the girls. I love my job. At 19, I lost somebody very dear to me, and that was one of my main goals in law enforcement. Our mental health is not where it should be, and I just joined to be there for somebody.
Yeah. And may I ask so the loss, was that due to mental health or something in that line?
Yes, sir. He committed suicide.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a huge gap that we still don't serve. And then as those resources kept getting defunded, it's just that there's not a light at the end of the tunnel unless we make it happen. And I think that's, you and I have talked, and that's where Jared's very passionate on this as well, on using the foundation to try to create even something as simple as this, where we talk through it and we give everyone an avenue. And, somebody called me right now and said, "Hey, John, I want to do a podcast and I want to talk about, I tried this service and it worked. I tried this service and it sucked. Great. Let's do it. Let's air it. That way somebody listening may be able to see it." I called the suicide hotline the other day just to understand, okay, when you make that phone call, what happens? And that was the first thing. Was they were like, do you really not need our help? I'm like, no, I really don't need your help. I'm really just trying to know what so I'm probably on a watch list now, but but the whole idea though is making sure that we start finding the services. I've had 4 different emails of, I guess it got flagged and of people saying, "Hey, will you put our resources on your website?" And I said, "Sure, let's have a call first." And so far, none of them have done it, which makes me go, are you a real resource, or are you just, trying to bait people and do it that way? And so it's tough just even trying to find the right resource that is true and will really help. And so as you guys hear about things, let me know too, because I want to put that stuff on our Facebook page, on our website. And our big goal is to have, I would love nothing more than to have first responders talking to first responders. If you're an officer and you're struggling, let's get you talking with an officer. I mean, I had to ask the other day what door to door meant. Like, door to door, what's that? LiDAR, what's that? Like, I don't talk the lingo. How am I going to help you? But I can definitely say, hey, they know what the hell you're saying, so talk with them. So no, I think that's it. So we got Christmas coming up, and I kind of warned you all that I might be asking this, and I feel like, things are going pretty smooth. So in the foundation, the creating of the foundation, I've been able to witness several things that we'll call it miracle, where it just, wow, there's no reason that should have happened, but it did. And it happened in ways that, an example is we partnered with a group called Running for Heroes, and we did a run for our Washington County deputy. Moments before we kicked that off, and I've never done any event like that at all, I received the notice that we received our 501c3 on the exact same day that they picked to do a run. I mean, it just fate. And it was another sign to me of this is going to happen. I talked with Jared. Jared, man, I don't know what your role is with this foundation, but you have one, and I don't know what it's going to be. And that's slowly grown, and he's really helped us develop and build. So in your line of work, have you guys seen any miracles or anything that you just, man, that happened how it should have, and I can't explain it? Is it many stories that, as Christmas is coming up, as corny as that sounds, is there any stories you guys thought worth sharing?
Well, I talk about my job often. I actually, as a matter of fact, I got my sister into it.
Okay.
My sister, she is now she is a deputy down in another county where I had started from, and she does it now full time and as a school teacher as well.
Oh wow! Wow, that's a tough gig right there.
Yes, it is. She picked the harder two, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. I mean,
She's serving.
Yeah.
Yes, she is. But she's like me. She loves it. And this was just, I'd come home every day, talk about my job, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I want to do that." And so I got her started as a reserve, and now she's full time.
So one of the things that I always wonder, I don't know, dealing with female officers, I don't know the correct terminology. Like when I started to type the title of this video, I didn't know to call it first responder, cops, women first responders, female first responders. How do you all want to be identified? I mean, when I'm titling this podcast, what the hell am I titling it?
I mean, I like, since we're doing a lot of, police talk, stuff like that, female police officers is good for me, or female law enforcement is good. I mean, because people who see this, there's going to be some young ladies who, it's going to be looking, just maybe curious what it's like. And that title might catch them enough that they may stop and watch it.
Right. And I think that's kind of the goal that, like I talked on a week ago or 2 weeks ago, that I'm here for police officers, first responders in general are a collaboration of their entire community. So to say that, hey, well, if you're, only white people can be police officers, that's not true. If you look at the communities that they serve, it really is if the department serving, basically the whole city office is part of that local community. You don't move from Chicago to be Bartlesville, Oklahoma. You're going to work up in the ranks of where you're living. And so it is I don't know. It's a melting pot. That's what we are. And so that's where, to me, it's if we can capture folks that understand, yes, you're a Black woman. Yes, you can be a police officer if you wanted to be. Why not? And really encouraging those that are looking at doing it. So if you were to give one piece of advice to somebody listening that is on the fence of going police, fire, whatever, what would that piece of advice be? What would you tell them?
I would tell them to set up a ride along and ride with an officer from the department or county that they want to be a part of, and try to get to know the deputies or the officers, try to get to know the department, try to get to know the community, and make sure that they're making the right decision.
Yeah, that's a solid one. Because if I want to work at this town and I ride a couple shifts with that town, I can tell am I going to mesh with that team or not? Yeah, that's solid advice. What about, physical fitness or any of those things? What does somebody need to do to be prepared to become an officer?
Well, I'll tell you where in our area, things have changed. The physical fitness test that we do is a little more strenuous than it was before. So definitely being in shape is huge. And, not only for the applying part, but also once you get on trying to, maintain shape or basically you just want to be there for your buddies. So if something happens, you want to be able to count on the next person type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another, it's come up a couple times. It's just once you get the job, staying healthy. I mean, you all, spend a lot of time driving around in the vehicles, and it's convenience food. So, what are things that you all do to try to, put a little bit of healthier into your life, or do you? I mean, it may just be, man, I need to be better at that. Is there anything you all do to try to aid your physical body health wise?
I'll tell you, for me, I do need to get better, and that's a goal going forward. And I think everybody, will always say in some area of their life they need to get better. So for the physical side of it, yes, do need to get better. I go right now, I'm trying to eat better, and then I go walking and stuff with my friends at this point. So, just having that community and partnership, friendship around you. They have the same goals in mind as well. So that's kind of where I am personally.
Okay. And I meant to ask this earlier. Is there a different physical fitness test for women versus men, or it's just one fitness test?
It's one.
It's one. And has that always been the same?
Yes.
Okay. So now, Maggie, you've got kind of an interest, and because of your history, have you seen women in your workforce? Has the treatment been better, been the same? There's not been an issue. Has things changed, or has it always been a decent place? I mean, what's have you seen anything change in that era?
Well, I came from one department to the department I'm at now, and I was the only female there at my previous department, and I was the only female there for years. I never had an issue, but I look at it like I worked just as hard as the men to get there. I do the same job that they don't limit my job or my requirements because I'm female. If you get into a situation, that individual is not going to be easier on you because you're a female. So I felt I worked just as hard, and I've earned my position, my respect with that department. When I came to the department I'm at now, there's only 2 other females at the time. I didn't have to prove myself. I already knew, what I was doing, and we, it worked out really well.
John, real quick, I was just going to say, you brought this up earlier as well, is the whole diversity deal.
Mm-hmm.
With where we are currently, I think that we need more diversity. We currently have 4 females, in our area, and we'd love to have more. We'll just say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that, so HR is something that I really dive into and enjoy. And it's one of those where, well, they only have 3 female officers. Great. How many female applicants have they had? 2. Right. Okay. Well, I mean, that's why. So it definitely is, is there a barrier that you feel like that first responders in general, because it is predominantly a male driven, workforce. Is there a barrier that you feel like people think exists that doesn't really? Because to me, I don't know. It feels overall like it's the job that can be done by either. I haven't seen a reason why anybody that wants to do it couldn't. Anybody.
I feel like
you got to have drive and that want to get in to do it.
Right.
And when you get in to do it, you need to stick with it. So that it's, it just, once you get into it, it just almost becomes natural.
And it's not for everybody, like Maggie's kind of been hitting on. It's definitely not for everybody. And you really need to do your research. And like Sierra said, ride along is probably going to be the biggest thing. Go spend 8 hours, in the patrol car with an officer. And, if you're a female and you want to become a police officer, maybe get in with another female officer. It's just really educating yourself on the the department you're looking into, riding with them, seeing how they operate, on a day-to-day basis. And then again, as Maggie said, it's really your mindset. I mean, you have to want to do it. You have to want to make a difference type of deal.
Yeah, and Sierra, you were gonna say something.
I agree with both Jessica and Maggie. I do believe that women bring a unique thing to law enforcement.
So do you feel like, is there calls that you all feel like you're better equipped than your partner, where you all say, hey, this type of call, I have it, or this dude's yelling, send me, I can calm them down better, or they're going to get louder with me because I am a woman. Do you find being a woman is easier dealing with, the public whenever you're on calls, or the other, or it just depends on the person I'm dealing with?
So I'll speak on the detective side, and just kind of my mindset is on the detective side, we can see like sexual abuse, rape, things like that. So for me, I feel and it may be wrong, victims may not mind either way. Possibly having a female detective, better for a female victim in one of those type instances.
Sure, and that makes sense. So what about on the streets? Is there, I mean, do you find that hey, I don't know, is there a citizen that if this citizen's getting a call on him, we're going to send, one of our ladies versus one of the men because they respond better? I mean, is that a thing, or is it, no, it's pretty well all of us respond the same? I mean, do you guys notice that you handle situations better than others?
I believe so, because sometimes on some of these calls, they look at females as a mothering. So we get there on some of our calls, our kids tend to calm down a little bit better. Men will tend to calm down better. They want a woman to listen. They want a woman's opinion. They want to know what they think, what they should do or what they shouldn't do. We had a situation today. A gentleman was completely fired up. I pull him aside. We sit and talk. He goes from screaming and yelling to just calmly talking.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, especially, I mean, we're in Oklahoma, so there is that we have a way about us of politeness. I mean, I'm not going to go yell at a lady, but I would be more prone to yell at a guy. I mean, it's just simple as that. And so I could see some of our culture of Oklahoma playing into that of, hey, go talk with her, and then immediately, just out of that respect, they'll quiet down versus talk with him, and now you're going to have a fight. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So, we've talked about kind of a lot of different subjects. Is there anything that you all want to make sure that we talk about? Anything that was on your list of, hey, I want to make sure that we put it out there? Any burning pieces of fact or info that you want to make sure the community knows?
I want I want our community to know, which, and I believe they do, but I just want them to continue to know that we're there to support them. We're there for them. We're not there because the uniform looks cool, or we're not there because the car looks cool. We're there for them. I mean, that's our job. I want everybody in my community to know they can come up and talk to me about anything. You always hear a lot of "don't judge me," and I'll be the first to tell you. I tell every person, whether they're intoxicated, whether they beat somebody up, it's not my place to judge anybody. As long as you treat me with respect, I'm going to respect you. You be nice to me, I'm going to be nice to you until you make me not be nice. You hear a lot of, well, the officers I've dealt with in the past, and I'm sorry for the experience you've had in the past, but you're not going to get that experience with me as long as we stay on the same level. So, there's a lot of people that say, oh, I've dealt with you before. She's cool. She's respectful. I'll talk to you. I want our community to know that they can do that with any officer, not just myself.
Yeah, I think that the other thing that I've been impressed with is, as body cameras and other accountability things have been putting out there, I've been able to watch a couple of videos. I watched one last year where a guy kept saying, well, I was the chief of police, and was being a total asshole to one of the kindest officers I've come across, actually. And the officer was just incredibly gentle, where if this was any other human being on earth, you wouldn't have gotten away with half of what you did. And so it was nice to be able to see that body camera footage of, no, the officer, I mean, they took way more than they should have. So you, Maggie, you've been around pre and post. Jessica and Sarah, did you serve when body cameras didn't exist to where you have them now, or have you had them your whole career?
I was without them probably half, 2 years without and 2 years with now.
Okay. And Sierra?
I've always had body camera.
Okay. So you're going to be exempt from this question. You're welcome. So Maggie and Jessica, pre versus post, having that camera, does that make you feel better having it, or, does it create distrust? I mean, what do you think? How, if you're a community that doesn't have body cameras, is it something that as an officer, you think that they should look into?
Yes, definitely. Especially with the way the world is going today, the way our news media presents a story. They just want to show, one certain part, and people believe what they see on the news. But, if push comes to shove, our body cameras are there to protect us as well.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Maggie. Not only to protect us as officers, but also to protect citizens. It holds us accountable so that, I'll be the first to say there are some bad cops. It's just part of life. There's bad teachers, there's bad, politicians, whatever. So I think it's good for us and good for the community. It's accountability so that, if I did do something wrong, we can go back and review it, and, there it is.
Yeah, I think that's the training tool gained to help officers become better. You get to now watch a shootout or a bad traffic stop that happened in China, and you get to learn and critique. Man, how did that? What should they have done better? If I was there, how would I have responded? I mean, it is an incredible tool to help you all really critique and learn. And I'm a visual learner, so I'm always watching those videos, going, "Ooh, man, where's that right hand? What are they doing with it?" It's an intense world that you all live in. That so I that's kind of where I stood as well. I don't know if body cameras are something that the foundation would ever fund, because it's not really life saving. It's more of training, but maybe. I mean, it would have to be. It's not as easy to sell as tourniquets or first aid devices, but still, it's been an interesting tool to see implemented across the United States, and how those have been pulled together to use to really help the citizen or the officer, depending on what the need was. So we're about 40 minutes in. What else? I mean, is there any other topics that you guys want to touch on? I mean, we talked about, post-traumatic stress, and we've talked about that it exists, but we really haven't dived into what do you all do to kind of exhale. Do you want to talk about that? You want to share how you guys, at the end of a tough shift, what do you do? Is that something you're comfortable doing?
I come home and I talk with my husband a lot. He used to be an officer himself.
Okay.
So it helps that he knows where I'm coming from. He, some of the stuff he's been through before. A lot of times, I just might kind of go and maybe have a margarita and clear my head.
Sure. So Jessica, Sierra, I mean, one of the things I asked Jared was, when you come home, what's the rule of the house? Do you talk about it, or do you not ask questions until you're ready to talk about it? I mean, do you guys have any, is there ground rules? Have you thought about it, or, what's your, on a bad day afterwards, how do you decompress?
So for me lately, we had just talked about trying to get better physically. I found lately, when I've been in, maybe when my head wasn't right, stuff was bothering me, I'd go for a run with my friends, and I've told them, I'm like, man, that's awesome. I feel good now, type of deal. So when we do our little run, we're able to talk about stuff too. And as far as stuff being off the table for me personally, I don't know that I'd be one to volunteer information per se, but if you ask, I'm not afraid to talk, type of deal.
Okay, so if family member, friend, whatever, notices you're funky and they say, "What's up?" then you would share, but you're not going to say, "Hey, I'm being funky."
Right.
Okay. Sierra?
I would say going to the gym or just spending time with my kiddo.
Sure. So you've had a tough day, took a bad call. When you get home, do you talk about it? Do you bottle it up? Do you talk about it a week later when you're ready? I mean, what do you do?
I just take it to the gym.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's a brand new day.
So, what do you guys receive any training throughout on PTSD or PTSI, like how to see it in yourselves or how to see it in others? I noticed in the military, I've got quite a few friends that they've talked about when they came back. It was how do you rejoin your house after being deployed and those kind of things. So they do some training around recognizing if hey, you're showing signs. Do you all in the the law enforcement world, do you get those kind of trainings? Or mental health training for not for others, but for yourselves and your coworkers.
Yes, we have mandatory hours that we have to do, and then also you can attend other classes as well on mental health.
Okay, so that exists. I mean, that's a thing that because that's one thing that I forgot to ask Jared and Justin. So there's training accessible to you all to how to identify it and what to do about it.
Yes.
Okay. Now they were calling it peer support network. Is that the same thing in law enforcement? I mean, is that a coin term or is that just the fire guys?
So I went to a week-long class. I think it was called peer. It was peer something. So I think that might be a general deal, and it just talked about the signs, what to look for, what your family should look for in you, type of deal.
Okay. Yeah, what he was saying is that, and there's an organization he's trying to get one of the people from there to come on a podcast where it's a protected thing that if somebody comes to you and says this is a peer support discussion, it can't leave you all unless you're bodily harm or harm to others, that kind of stuff. But it was a set, not therapy, but kind of your first level of somebody in your unit. It was able to kind of tell you, hey, let's talk real quick, kind of like your runs, but more formal of them knowing what questions to ask and what to look out for and where to take you if you do need help.
Right.
So
There's a program called Hope for first responders that's just for us. So we don't have to be, let's say one of us go off the deep end, we're not housed with people that we've arrested before and get more trauma or have to deal with those people. There's a place for us to go.
And it's called Hope.
Yes.
Okay, I'll check it out. Yeah, I mean, as you guys come across those resources, or you're going to go to trainings and booths and all that stuff. If you guys come across that stuff, let me know. That way, I can look into it and see if we can get them on here, or we can get the resources to. Because my goal is we'll start with Oklahoma and get those resources to everybody in Oklahoma, and then start branching out as they prove themselves, or as we learn, hey, this worked, or hey, this didn't. So that's really all I've got. I mean, I appreciate you all taking time on. I mean, it is hard to get one of you all together, let alone three. So thank you for not being as tough to wrangle as I was thinking. Any other things you'd like to share? Anything that we haven't talked about that you really want to? It's okay if not.
Do you guys think of anything?
One of the things I just like to share is, us as law enforcement, some of the things that help us that some people don't see is like some of your projects, your support, you being there for us. I mean, that helps us a lot as well. And I appreciate it. I know our department does as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's you guys have a very thankless job, and you deal with I feel like the people you deal with, especially your frequent flyers, they're more gracious to you and more thankful to you of what you do for them and recognize what you do for them than most of the community. And so really trying to, and that's where the podcast comes into play. One is so other officers go, yeah, I've dealt with that same thing, so I'm not the only one. But also other citizens going, wow, I didn't realize that, clearly mental health is a big issue that we need to really talk about and see if we can connect. Or, health and wellness, you all suck at taking care of your bodies. I mean, absolutely suck. I went to Jared and he was teaching his EMT class, and the mound of candy that he was devouring, and I don't know if you've ever met him, but he's fit as a whistle and gorgeous, but he still was just like, dude, Red Bull and candy is his lifeblood. So there's definitely opportunities, and that's where I want to keep trying to figure out how can the foundation help in those. So same thing. I mean, if you're a local gym, getting with your first responders and seeing if you can help them. It's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to help. I mean, first responders having heart attacks left and right. So if we could prevent that, that would be phenomenal. Man, I really appreciate all of you. If you want to do a one-off and tell more of your stories, such as Maggie, if you want to talk about your parents, we definitely can. That seems like there's more there, or why you all joined, or even down to something as simple as your experience through I don't know, boot camp or whatever police training was. I don't know, what's it called? Is it called boot camp? What?
The academy.
The academy. Complete there. So, I mean, if there's more stories within your career that you do think, man, I'd really like to talk about that, just let me know. We can log on here pretty well anytime, as long as I'm not at work, and get you guys, share your story. But same thing of getting your peers, not just in your locality, but your friends within as you meet. Really helping us spread the word would be huge, because that helps us, reach more first responders, but also reach more people that are interested in helping first responders. All righty, guys, that's all I have, unless you have anything else.
No.
No,
Awesome.
I just want to say thank you. Like Maggie said, thank you for doing this. Thank you for everything that you've done for the community in which you live, and then, branching out now to surrounding areas. And then just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We've got 140 of our bleed kits that arrive tomorrow. So that's 140 tourniquets and chest wound seals and all that, in a nice little kit that we're delivering. I think it's either 6 or 7 towns, and then our place in Georgia. So we'll get those out. But if you guys think of anything, reach out. Again, check us out on our website, ProjectTribute.com, and we look forward to hearing from you guys. This podcast is hosted by the Project Tribute Foundation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to aiding our first responders. Thank you for listening. For more information on our efforts, check us out at www.projecttribute.com. If you're a first responder that would like to share your story, contact us at ProjectTributeFoundation@gmail.com. You can find us on various social media and podcast sites by searching the Project Tribute Foundation. 100% of donations are used to save lives, while our retail store pays for any of our operational costs. Thank you again, and please be sure to like us, follow us, and share our foundation with your friends. Stay tuned weekly as we continue to share our stories from our nation's heroes. Thank you.